we have Brian Green. He is a man that if you cut him anywhere, hopefully a tiny cut, nothing damaging, he would bleed orange. And he's been around with Magento for so long now and been such a central figure in what makes Magento really pre Adobe. Now it's Adobe, of course. He has been somebody I call every single year to try and get to speak. He's an extremely busy man, so I'm very grateful to have him. He's talking about how commerce has changed forever. It's the state of Magento under Adobe now. Where are we going? What's new? What should we know about? And I think, I can think of nobody else better than Brian to do that. So Brian, I'll hand it over to you, and I'll see everybody else after Brian's finished. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Jamie, and thank you to all of you for giving up your time in, I think Jamie was showing me 1,900 unique locations, as we all tend to share our home offices in the world that we're living today. So as Jamie said, I'm going to spend the next few minutes sharing some data that I've got around commerce, particularly in Europe. And, I'll be honest, I have the luxury of plagiarizing data and slides from my colleagues inside Adobe from our marketing team. So some of my employees will recognize the data. So I'm going to share some insights. I'm going to try and make it quite personal, because I think the great thing about commerce and talking about commerce today is many more people can relate to what we are all doing in our professional world, driving online commerce. It's become never ever so vogue, to the fact that even my family now talk about it much more than they've ever done. I'm now considered to be quite cool as a family member in the Green household, which is quite good. Clearly, I didn't want to start a presentation in the world that we live in today without acknowledging the fact that, unbelievably, here we are again at Meet Magento UK online. And I was joking with Jamie earlier today that the only thing UK about this event now is the fact that the name, because Jamie was sharing the scope of this event. So thank you for all of those of you that are sharing your time with us this afternoon. But most importantly, as we have constantly around the world looked at a graphic similar to the one that I'm showing on the screen, I truly hope that you, your friends, your family, your partners, your professional colleagues are all safe and healthy, and long may that continue as we work together to put this pandemic behind us. It's certainly be something that I'm sure our generations will never forget, and probably our children's generations will never forget. And the world's changed. The world has really changed. I'm going to move on to some graphics that are quite personal to the Green family. So I'm going to give you some insights, not only on to e-commerce in Europe and specifically the UK, but also me and how things happened in the last 15 months or so. And, as this is Magento UK, I can seriously relate to being a middle-aged British guy. So apologies for being me, very stereotypical. I'm really taking the rise out of myself. And the fact, the Brits, we like to queue. I've been to Disneyland and I've queued. I've been stood at a bus stop and I queue. I even queue to get on a train and queue to get on a tube, which is probably something that's a little bit unique, but I still do that. But I never in my career of 25 years plus as an IT professional expected to queue to get on a website. But let's just remind ourselves where we were just over a year ago. And these are real graphics. They're not being photoshopped. As the Adobe guy, I promise that's the case. Of the type of thing my wife was doing just to get the Green family shop. Can you remember this? The trauma of queuing to get online. And then similarly, in my case, I have never done as much DIY in the last 15 to 18 months as I have done probably in the last 50 plus years that I've been on this planet. DIY became vogue because we couldn't do anything else. So the scale of which the impact this had on IT and us as e-commerce professionals was to such an extent, for a few weeks in some cases, we were putting systems in place to minimize traffic to our websites. I find that fascinating because I'm still dealing and talking with my colleagues in Adobe's marketing team, and Peter and the team, some of them you know really well, about how do we get more traffic? How do we convert that traffic? And at this point, we were so overwhelmed with the impact of COVID, we were slowing it down. And also in retail, when have we known when you're limiting the amount of spend? You say, no, you can only have so many toilet rolls. You can't have X liters of hand sanitizer. It was completely the opposite to what we've been driving as professionals, probably for the previous decade. We suddenly hit pause because we were so overwhelmed with change. You know, there's been some incredible statistics that have been discussed about 5 years growth in hours was the impact on traffic. And the great thing about Adobe and some of the insights, you know, some of the data and insights that we've been able to ascertain as we learn from this pandemic has been quite insightful. We share some of that data, and I'll give you a shameless plug. On the opposite side, everything's closed. You know, if I look around, you know, my local town in West Berkshire in the UK, you know, we are still recovering. Many stores are still closed and probably will never reopen. You know, major brands have, you know, gone forever from our high streets. It's a really transformational process that we've been through on the back of COVID. And, you know, I think I will ever forget these two logos here, because, you know, if I think about the prep that we've done for things like Black Friday, we know we could scale for Black Friday. We've done some testing, and then all of a sudden, something that we did not predict hit us globally, and it had a very significant impact. So in summary, and there's some data on here that's from a report that our marketing team put together, which is quite specific about asking questions in Europe. So I'll give a shameless plug, but there's some really interesting statistics when I've read this at length, which is why I want to focus on sharing some of the data behind this at a high level. More demand, where unquestionably our shopping habits have changed. And I'll give you an example. You know, my father, bless him, is 82 years old. And, and whilst he's a pretty technical guy, you know, he would have never considered doing his shopping online. He would have physically gone to the supermarket, quite frankly, just to get him out of the house and get some exercise. But now he was in a situation where he wanted to isolate for his protection and my mum's protection. So he suddenly went online. So it was a completely different generation of shoppers that we've just been introduced, as well as a significant number of demands. And if you look at us as professionals sat behind delivering that service, as I said before, it was a very significant increase in demand. You know, I'm talking to some of our colleagues inside Adobe about the impact all of this traffic had on, you know, the numerous websites that we're supporting around the world as Adobe, and also the numerous number of Magento sites that we're hosting, and the sites that you're hosting, and the customers that you're servicing as merchants, and the agencies that are delivering and are being asked to deliver on this, you know, outstanding demand instantly. It was literally like clicking a switch. The impact was so. And I use this graphic because, you know, there are so many conversations I had with members of the technical staff inside Adobe about the impact on infrastructure. Let's put some more infrastructure in place. Let's put some more scaling. And when we thought we'd scaled to the next point, the goalpost moved again and again. And what I find really fascinating, and when we're looking at the data and the insights from that data over the last 15 months, we bursted more resources into many e-commerce websites and many websites around the globe. And what hasn't happened is we've pulled it back. So what tends to happen with things like Black Friday that we're familiar with, or Christmas shopping, or summer sales, whatever the impact has been in the past, it's normally a spike. What's happened here is we've changed from here to here. The plateau of the norm changed overnight, and it had a significant impact on many of you as e-commerce professionals, and, you know, many of the infrastructure support and all of those individuals that we talk to provide an outstanding customer service for our ultimate, you know, consumer of these services that we're offering. It had a significant impact in the way we went to market. The other thing we did all of this whilst working in our bubbles at home. I'm looking at the Adobe employees. You know, we went from about 70 physical location in Europe, you know, with numerous offices and small offices, to, I think it was 3,516 remote offices. That has a very significant impact as you suddenly scale your business so that, you know, every home office becomes effectively a corporate office in terms of the way you're servicing customers. So I'm certainly proud of our employees for doing that, but I'm also proud of all of the partners and you, our customers, that have worked together to ultimately deliver those solutions to our customers. It was really significant. The other dynamic, which I find, which is really interesting as well, not only did all of our consumers' demand suddenly jump by tens of percent, you know, I look at the way that I now shop. I can honestly say, if I look at my own high street, the only time I go to a high street now is frankly to have my hair cut. Yeah. Otherwise, I literally do 100% of my shopping completely online. And possibly I'm a bad example as an e-commerce professional, but it has had that dramatic impact on me. But the other thing that's had an impact on me is my expectations of what I demand when shopping online. It's interesting, one of my colleagues this morning called me a digital experience snob. I've been called a number of things, but that was a new one on me. And I think I understand, you know, what she was getting at when she was making the point. And that fact, you know, my patience for, you know, poor engagement, poor quality, poor photographics, you know, hiding the product information over many layers, you know, is quite low. And what I'm interested, you know, when I'm looking at some of the statistics from a recent report that we put together at Adobe, you know, everyone's expectations is going up. You know, I think the interesting one of the interesting ones on here I find fascinating, COVID-19, the lockdown has changed my expectations of online shopping. So that we're not going to go backwards. This is the impact it's had and will continue to have, in addition to the dramatic increase in demand. And then, you know, the moment we've all seen it, I've experienced this personally at home, you know, just the job that I do every other Sunday evening to take the recycling out. You know, I was shocked about two things when the amount of cardboard that I'm having come into the house. So I really consider the impact that shipping has on when I buy. You know, does it arrive on time? Can I choose, you know, do I know when it's going to arrive? If the shipping packaging is eco-friendly? You know, these extra expectations have quite a lot of challenges for us as e-commerce professionals to project that information. You know, again, we've heard quite a lot of people talk about this, and this is brought out in one of the bullets on my slide, that eco is becoming, you know, people are prepared to pay more to get recycled packaging. And I'll be honest, after seeing the cardboard going down my drive a year last March, I was really quite offended by it personally. So I've changed my shopping behaviors on that. And my point is here is a combination of increased demand and increased expectations, and also the demographic of those people that we're servicing. You know, I'll be quite candid. I go back to my 82-year-old father. He wasn't the type of person who did much of his, you know, personal retail therapy online. You know, that's gone from the minority of his family spend to the majority. And that, you know, this has considerable impact on how we scale and considerable how we project that. And I'll be honest, you know, I keep learning from this, and I was attending some of the sessions today, and I'll be honest, I spent quite a bit of time today listening to some of our customers and what they've been delivering. You know, I know I'm still old enough to realize that every day is a school day. And it was really interesting to hear from you how you're overcoming some of these challenges and how you've got challenges in front of you that you're looking for solutions to solve. So that's given me something to think about, something that I will certainly take back into my organization. Going back to Brian's comment about being a digital snob, you know, this isn't honestly a shameless plug for Adobe's content management solutions, but they've never become more relevant. And the reason I raise it is content and the way we deliver content is as important now, and probably even more important than it's ever been, as well as just the more traditional aspects of an e-commerce website that we're all more familiar with. And I've put some data on this slide that I've literally plagiarized from my colleagues in marketing. Very clear product descriptions. I must admit, I really like that. And let's make it really easy to find what you're looking for. Again, two things that we've given some focus on into the roadmap inside Magento Commerce, which I think Sharon was sharing earlier. But these things have never become more relevant. Simplicity is almost become the secret. And I know there's been a lot of sessions around PWA, and some of the solutions that's been built on the back of that addresses absolutely some of the demands sat behind the percentages on this slide. So I could talk about this sort of data for more time than Jamie's prepared to give me, because the one thing that's been really exciting as we've now spent quite a bit of time inside Adobe is the data and insights access that we have because of the scale of Adobe and the number of websites and the data analytics we can record on the back of that to give us some insights we can share. I can't share all of that data on the deck, so I'm going to, on this one occasion, have a shameless plug. Jamie, forgive me. This is one of the best reports I've read, and I've put a Q code on the screen so you can, if you've got cameras, you can share it. There's some really, really insightful data about the fact that COVID has had an impact on us and consumer habits have changed, and which ones the data is showing will be here for the future. So if you've not read this report, to complement and augment the incredible content that you've heard today, I would urge you to download it and have a look at the data, because it will go into a lot of detail around some of the learnings that not only are we hearing inside Adobe, but also more importantly, we're hearing from you and your peers in the industry, i.e. our customers and partners, and the data that you're sharing with us in your habits. And that may help you in how you drive your e-commerce journeys for the future. So I want to give you just a bit of insight of some of the things that we've shared in that report. So it's a very shameless plug. And then Jamie asked me to kind of be a little bit more inward thinking and share a little bit, what's been going on inside Adobe. And it did make me reflect. And what it made me reflect was on a couple of points, one of which I haven't had an opportunity to stand next to Jamie at an event for a considerable period of time. And so, probably quite a lot of things have changed and are changing and will continue to change. We haven't had the opportunity to have that FaceTime with many, many of you that we could have done in the world we've lived in. And the other thing that did make me chuckle, and I have to thank Jamie, normally I'm talking to my friend Peter Sheldon in the evening, and I'm delighted for a UK event that we got Peter up at 1 a.m. and I can finish early tonight. So thank you for that. But the reason I shared that, a couple of these stories about Adobe, I thought I'd start by going backwards. And it was interesting because it was around a Meet Magento UK event that Adobe made an announcement, which ultimately concluded on the 19th of June, 2018, and that was the day the Adobe transaction completed and Magento, its employees became part of Adobe. And then several months later, on the 9th of October, which is where this graphic comes from, this was the graphic that was on the screen behind me at Magento Live Europe in Barcelona, when we introduced Mark Lavelle, who was our then CEO of Magento, and Shantanu, our CEO of Adobe, to many of you in our community for the first time, where we were talking about the tagline, Adobe makes its digital experiences personal, and then Magento makes each of those personal moments shoppable. And it was about bringing together, the capabilities of those two companies. And just below on the screen is a statement that Mark Lavelle, our CEO, made in the press release on 19th of June about, the strength that Adobe has in content and data with the strength that Magento has around open source innovation with e-commerce. And personally, those things today are never more true, in my opinion. The data and insights that we are learning from our analytics products on the back of thousands and thousands of websites, and being able to share some of that relevant content and learnings, which with what was traditionally and still is a very important community to us, our commerce Magento community, is insightful. Content and content delivery over all forums have never been more valid and more relevant as e-commerce expectations continue to rise. We have new challenges. Just marketing to each other is much more difficult than it has been because we're all now at home offices. So doing that customer journey orchestration and management, again, is something that we've learned. We've been partnering with many partners and we've been now delivering it as Adobe, is new. And these are all new capabilities in addition to Adobe. The other thing I will share is the culture about bringing these two things together. As the Magento guy, the orange guy, I've even been compared to US politicians. I was so orange. We have a very unique culture in terms of the way that we partner, the way that we go to market, and the way we support our employees. I'm really proud to say 3 years later, not a lot's changed in terms of the culture and the way that operates. The fact that Peter Sheldon is opening this event again, and I'm closing it, look at the agenda from Meet Magento UK. It's very similar. Yeah. And we've got a huge number of employees that are, continuing to be with us in that journey. And it's been quite a journey. 2019, I can remember stood on stage and asking 2,000 people to put a blindfold on, and 2,000 people did. The trust that we have in the community is not wasted on us, 3 years later at Adobe. But things have changed. So let me just talk about one, because there's a lot of conversation about it. So I just want to call it out. So we have and are rebranding our product Magento Commerce, Adobe Commerce. So, and I've had loads of conversations about this, and I'll show you what Brian Green's opinion is, to be honest. The opinion that I have on this, is Adobe can be trusted. That's why I'm with the company. And I'll talk about that a little bit more about what that means. Adobe is a really, really strong brand, unquestionably. I realized that when I'm stood at my children's school gate on the rare occasions I'm able to go and pick my children up from school, when I get the headmistress in my local primary school asking me, can I help get a discounted version of Adobe's Creative Suite? Now, whilst that is a true domestic story from my life, it's also the brand is helping me as a Magento guy inside a large corporation grow Magento, because I'm getting involved in conversations which leads to Magento growth that I wouldn't have had as the Magento brand. Unquestionably, Magento is a very strong and continues to be strong brand in e-commerce. However, Adobe is a very strong brand, period. And bringing the combination of those assets around those two things is really important. And it's without question going to help us as we go forward. Let me just talk you through other things that I'm finding is really helpful from an Adobe standpoint. Unquestionably, Adobe's helped with resources. You can expect that with considerably more resources, have larger footprint, larger client access, more engineering expertise, things like AI. The expertise we have around AI is helping accelerate and drive our roadmap. So there's a lot of value in that and a lot of emotion around this change. I'm very aware of it. I'm going to talk on to something else because, I probably wouldn't use this slide in any other company I've ever worked for, apart from the fact that how I feel about Magento and our relationship with many of you and our community. And this is, really, which is what has made my career at Magento really special and what continues to make my role at Adobe really special. And it's not just the love of all of my employees, but I will share 4 things that I wake up and I really truly care about this, and ask my team, and hopefully they will share a tagline that I take to heart, because I think the team that we have is really special, really, really special. And I think about that team from 4 different categories of member of the team. Our employees. I'm so proud of the employees that have been on the journey with Magento. I'll share with you, when I joined Magento in 2017, there were 18 staff in Europe that were focused on our go-to-market. So yeah, we had a couple of people in finance, person in legal, but we had 18 people customer facing, touching clients and supporting our go-to-market. Here I am in 2021 with over 200 people. So it's the scale of our organization and the scale of Magento, the number of customers we're supporting, the revenues we're supporting are of a different scale. So I just want to be really, really clear, more resources, more customers, more revenue. Yeah, so, similarly with partners, I'm flattered, to be honest, we are a partner first organization. And the reason for that, the expertise in what's taking our products and implementing them and making them the solutions in the market is the expertise that you're hearing from many, many of the speakers today, including Jamie and his organization. Yeah, they are super special. They're rock star implementers. They are subject matter expertise. They are absolutely part of the team at Adobe, because we don't see there's any difference. So employees really important to me. We've done some things around employees during COVID to give them, company days off so we can look after their well-being. We've also been doing numerous events. Some of you as partners have joined me. If you look up behind me, there's an incredible painting of some sunflowers. That's because I did an online art class with some colleagues. So there's a number of things we try to do to stay engaged with many of you. Similarly, our customers, many of you are our customers. Thanks to the Adobe resources, we've been able to put more support engineers in place, more engineers in place, more customer success managers in place, more account managers in place, more pre-sales technical people in place. We are doing our best to invest. And I said the proof point is 18 staff to 200 plus. One thing I'm not going to apologize for, we are a publicly listed company and we need to drive shareholder value for our shareholders. And we're super focused on doing that at the same time, but not at the expense of our values. Our values are core to us in terms of the way that we interact with our developer community, interact with our partner community, interact with our employees. Yeah, our values that we had as a relatively small startup that's quite mature with Magento, and now as a much larger corporation, Adobe, are remarkably similar. And I think the real proof of the pudding, I would say, is many of the employees inside Adobe that you were talking to at Magento are here. Peter Sheldon, still here, still doing keynotes with Jamie and I in the UK. And there are numerous other examples, many other speakers. And we've also had customers. I think one of the speakers in the UK today is Marion, one of my colleagues from the Netherlands. She was so impressed with Magento as a customer, she joined the company. So forgive me for sharing that news, Marion, but some great examples. And I just say, the community spirit is something we take not for granted. And we thank you for it. We thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for the commitments you make to code. Sometimes that can be complex, but the values behind that is really important. And I said about growth. Lots of people have an opinion on Magento's growth. And of course, as a public listed company, we need to be much more careful about the results we share at a product line. We don't, but I will share with you a few sound bites for you that I got from our operations team today. So a couple of sound bites for you to understand. There are now more customers in the United Kingdom than we had in Europe when I joined. So think about that for a second. So Magento's customer count, the revenue's off the scale, but customer count in the UK is now greater in the UK than it was when I joined Magento in October 2017. So interesting. If I look in the UK, one of the things that we measure is net transactions. And do we have a view on our net transactions on our cloud product? So far, year to date on cloud, we have 79 million cloud transactions. So if you're a shipping partner of Adobe Commerce and they'll be coming through you, there's an awful lot of cardboard boxes being delivered to UK customers on the back of Adobe Commerce. And there's just a couple of other scaling examples. So I want to be clear, net number of customers up in Europe and in the UK, net revenue up very significantly. I think you can do the math. You can't fund going from 18 staff to 200 without seeing that continued success inside Adobe. So what's for the future? What's next? Candidly, we're in the process right now of planning for next year. We are looking at how we can seize more growth inside our organization. I think those of you, and thank you, many of you do follow us on social media, you are aware that we're hiring as Adobe to power our growth across multiple go-to-market functions, whether it's in sales, pre-sales, consulting, support, etc. But the other thing I'm really excited about is our partner ecosystem. Many of you who are listening to me now are doing the same thing. Magento, now Adobe Commerce. Adobe Commerce is growing, and the Adobe brand, I'm confident, will drive our growth even further. Now, we have something special, super special, in terms of what is unique to Magento, apart from the corporate assets that I have as an employee as Adobe. But the thing that makes this community unique, and the agencies that are on supporting us, and the technology partners that are supporting us, and the numerous sponsors that are supporting this event, we come together as a single community for the greater good of each other, even though sometimes we also compete. But that's what, I think what I'd like to do on the next slide is just thank one team specially. And I think there's about 1,900 thank yous that are just about to come this team's way. And that's Jamie and his team at JH. This event today would not be possible, Jamie, without your drive, passion, determination, grit. I've had the privilege over the last few hours to speak to some of your technical staff that probably feel like they've been biting the nails and can't wait for this keynote to finish so they can sit down and sigh. But are you crazy doing this again and now getting it bigger? I think you can tell me in a minute how many people are on watching and how many countries. This is no longer Meet Magento UK. This is Meet Magento over a lot of countries. But thank you for your commitment. It's a true reflection of the fact that you and your organization believe in this community. And I'm glad we're in it together, winning together. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the wonderful, wonderful close to the day. You shouldn't take words off me when I'm just about to speak, Brian. I don't know what to say now. I don't know what to say.
Jamie, I think you shared with me, was it 1,900 people are listening to you, and that is a true commitment to the community spirit. Let's be honest, some of those people that listen to us are potentially compete with Adobe and potentially compete with JH, but that's just a reflection of how much we believe in the team is greater than each individual, and that's very commendable to you. 70 plus countries listening right now?
79.
79, yeah.
Got to count them all. Got to add the 9. Always got to add the 9.
Yeah, no, it all counts. Congratulations. And we'll have to find a way. I'll speak to Peter Bell, my very good friend in marketing, who may be listening, and to see if we can get some Adobe merchandise to go on your desk behind you. Although I'm a big fan
of the fact that there is not a red neon Adobe Commerce sign yet is just.
I know.
You could have someone dedicated to that in the 200 people you've got in Europe. You've got to get someone on that.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm personally attached to a lamp like that as well. So you'll never take the orange heart out of a beating Adobe employee.
Well, thank you to you, thank you to Peter Bell, thank you to Sarah McDonald for all the wonderful support we've had all the way through.